Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Project Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Sheryll, and today I have the honor of speaking with an incredible woman. She has successfully transitioned from the beauty industry, where she thrived as a makeup artist, to becoming a successful business owner and psychologist. Dawn Petgrave Smith is an associate counseling psychologist and is a full member of the Jamaican Psychological Society. She is a talented entrepreneur, life coach, educator, and an accomplished creative makeup artist. Dawn holds a Master of Arts degree in forensic psychology as well as a Master of Arts degree in clinical psychology. She is a certified complex trauma specialist who has been doing counseling psychology for over 17 years. Currently, she dedicates her time to working with young teens in the school system, helping them navigate life's challenges while also volunteering in the prison system, offering counseling and hope to male inmates seeking transformation. Beyond her professional life, she is a devoted mother and a newlywed, embracing the lessons that comes with love, growth, and starting over. We are excited to introduce Dawn Petgrave Smith. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the show. Today, we are diving into our four-part mini-series that is called the Self-Worth Series, geared for both men and women. And we are honored to have an expert guest with us today, our beloved psychologist, Miss Dawn Petgrave Smith. Hey, Dawn, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Sheryll, and thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome, awesome. So we're honored that you're going to be with us throughout the whole series. And the first topic here, episode one, is talking about you are more than enough, silencing self doubt. So, Dawn, I'm excited to dive right into it. But before we get into the questions, from your expert analysis, tell us what is self worth?
Yes, so self-doubt is actually persistent negative view of one's self. So sometimes persons will find everything wrong with themselves and never nothing positive, sometimes no matter how absolutely amazing they are. And I'm so excited that we're actually doing an entire series because it get to unearth where some of these self-doubt would have started. So to answer the question, self-doubt is having a negative view of one's self.
Okay, all right. Now, self doubt itself is a universal struggle. I'm sure that you'll
Mhm.
agree with that. Why do so many people, regardless of gender, battle with, that feeling that I'm not enough?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Past experiences, most times childhood experiences. In psychology, we call them ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And it's those things that happen, that governs your behavior as a child. So, for example, you might have a parent that just always negatively talk to that child, always extremely critical, give their negative feedback. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? Oh, you're so, you're an idiot. You're not going to become anything. And so after time, we start believing those things. And as a man thinketh, so is he. So many times we don't even recognize that those negative self-talk, or not even just self-talk, but negative feedback, critical feedback that comes to us as children affect our well-being into adulthood. Again, you have societal pressures, social media. Everybody needs to be perfect and needs to be rich. And sometimes when you look at your life and you don't add up to that, it may create some form of self doubt for you. And I think another thing that we do as human beings is compare ourselves. We
Yeah.
look on at other people and we compare ourselves, and that alone right there will lower our self-worth and create a lot of self-doubt in an individual.
Yes, so true, so true. Now, do you believe that women and men experience self-doubt differently, and how,
Well, let me first say, Sheryll, that both men and women do experience self doubt. I think it's more prevalent in women because we are emotionally wired. So a woman will express, a man will cover up because I think society, life, history, the past has taught our men that they need to be tough. So many times we see men acting in this tough role while deep down inside they are very insecure. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest thing with narcissism is low self-esteem, but narcissists are some show up as some of the most confident people, but underneath all of that is a lot of self-doubt. um, so one of the things I recognize also is that women are more readily able to internalize what they're feeling, while sometimes a man will just shake something off and keep it moving. So they do
yeah.
show up differently.
Yeah, that's interesting what you just mentioned about the fact that that narcissist person is actually going through self-doubt and not feeling like they are enough, and so they act out and put that toughness, so to speak, on the
Mm-hmm.
forefront.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, you did mention a little bit a while ago about societal pressure, and also that ACEs. Talk to us a little bit more, because I believe that your upbringing and society does shape your self worth. So, give us your expert concept on that.
All right, so children live what they learn. A research was done. I forgot where it was, but I was reading it in one of the psychology magazine, and it was 100 children. So they split them up in groups of 50, and in one group, so this was a impoverished country. I don't remember. So in one group, they they gave these 50 children everything that they needed: clothes, they had a nice place, they had PlayStation, they had phones, they had all these material things, but none of the caregivers spent any time with them. So they just ensured that there was food, there was no social interaction from a caregiver. All right. And then the next 50, they didn't give them any of the material things, but they got a lot of love and attention from the caregiver, a lot of time spent with them. And here's something that we need to note: children spell love Time, right? And so we miss that sometimes, always trying to give them the things, the things, the things. So at the end of this report, what they recognize is that the children that did not get the material things but got the love and the care and the affirmations and all of that were doing 10 times better, psychologically, socially, with their schoolwork. Everything improved versus the ones who did not get that, but they got all the material things. And so between the ages of 0 and 6 are very critical years. And how a child is is um is treated by a caregiver within those years is going to determine the kind of adult that we get. All right. So if you always have a caregiver telling the child every time they do something wrong, are you an idiot, or slapping them? So we're looking at emotional abuse, we're looking at physical abuse, we're looking at psychological abuse. If that is happening, then it is going to tell that child, oh, I'm not good enough. oh, I'm stupid. So they pull back. And we also need to understand that trauma creates an imbalance in brain development. So then we wonder why we have so much ADD, ADHD in children, so much autism. When you look back at parenting, you can sometimes find many connection as to a person's level of self-worth, their attachment style, which is also very, very important, how you develop your attachment style, and just their overall success in life. When you look at persons who have between two or four adverse childhood experiences, which would have been okay. They probably would have been emotionally abused, probably molested, probably physically abused also, and then probably the loss of a parent, whether it was through death or divorce or anything like that. The statistic for those is that those persons have a higher chance of getting into trouble. So a lot of times the guys, the boys mostly, the girls sometimes do get into drugs, alcohol, explicit sex. They end up in jail. They end up in gangs. All of these are things that come from childhood traumas that were never dealt with. And I'll share a little story. I was working on a forensic case, and the young man, he served time in prison, and he came out, and now I'm doing this case for a particular purpose for him. And in his interview with me, he said to me, you know, Miss Petgrave, if I had my father and if my mother spent a little bit more time with me, I would have never gone to jail. And I thought that was such a big statement because he doesn't know the statistics. You know, he doesn't know. So when he said that, and after I did his ACEs assessment and showed him what he scored and showed him the correlation between the things that happened to him and how that governed his behavior, man, he broke down in tears. And so oftentimes the behaviors that we see people exhibiting as adults most of the time stems from how they were brought up by their caregivers. I know that's a mouthful right there.
No, that was very good. Thank you for sharing that story because you're right. He obviously did not know anything about ACEs and the statistics, as you mentioned, but
Yeah,
he must have at some point, self reflect and
right.
realize that that was a part of the missing part of his life and maybe something that contributed to the actions that he played out, the decision that he made, and ultimately the punishment that he got for it.
Yeah, yeah. So parenting, I think right now the world is going through a parental crisis because the adult that we want today, we have to train them from now. And if the things that we're doing now as caregivers are any indicators, what kind of world or what kind of future are we going to have with the next generation if we are not even with boys, allowing our boys to cry if they fall and hurt themselves, allow them to express what they're feeling, but teach them how to get back up and to be strong. If we're not teaching our girls that they are worthy, that they are worthy of love, what kind of future are we going to have?
Yeah, absolutely powerful. I really love it. And, just to piggyback off what you just mentioned about
Hmm.
what our future looks like because of the social media influence now, things are just blown out of proportion, so to speak. Even with our our young kids, even just before they get to adolescence, they're so stressed out already. They're so overwhelmed already. And
Hmm.
it's almost like they're not getting a chance to enjoy childhood, and just being free. And I always say, the home should be where we are allowed to make our mistakes, right? Because again, from school to the community, maybe even church, whatever organization that we're a part of, especially school, it plays such a big part on us, on kids, whether they're enjoying their moment or they're being bullied or just finding it to be such a struggle. So they would look forward to coming home and feeling safe and feeling loved and feeling free to make mistakes. But as you mentioned before, when home is not safe either, then it's like nowhere is safe. Can you expound a little
Yeah.
bit on that?
Yes, yes, and that is so brilliant that you brought that up. At DeMarie Institute, for those of you who don't know, it's a beauty institute, and so the makeup classes were 1 day per week for the regular makeup classes. There was one particular young lady that would come to school every day. So I remember pulling her. I observed for a little while. And remember, you're not allowed in the other classes. So she would just be on the compound. And I observed for a couple of days. And then I pulled her aside and I said, class is only 1 day per week. Why are you here every day? And she said, I finally find somewhere safe. And that broke my heart because I really couldn't have her on campus every day. But then how could I turn her away when this is now a safe space for her? All right. I ended up getting extremely creative with that and have her helping me with the classes. So she was now like my little teacher assistant. So it also gave her hope. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago, I posted something on Facebook, a letter from a student, and that was the same student. Like years later, she wrote me a letter about the impact that I had on her life. And so, teachers, school is being thrown the responsibility of raising your children. And it's very unfair because, first of all, the teachers, the students are not even respecting teachers anymore. So it's not like when we were in school and if we ever dare disrespect a teacher, parents are being called in and you're getting whipped in front of the class. Those things doesn't happen anymore. And so the responsibility of raising a child is thrown on the educational institution, which when you have 40 students to one teacher, you don't have time to be babying anybody's child. You're just there to get the objectives of that curriculum done. Because also, if it's not done as a teacher, you're going to be in trouble with your job. And so, if I can just make a plea to parents and for the ones that are still at home, for the children that are still at home, let us take a step back and try something different. Just even ask them, how are you today? Just something as simple as that. And when they answer, give them the opportunity to respond. Wait for them to respond. Listen to hear what they are saying. Another thing that as parents we need to do is we need to observe our children's behavior, right? So that if abnormal behavior starts showing up, like they start locking away in their room, they don't want to come out, they want to be in the dark, they're failing classes, you will quickly pick up because those behaviors would now become abnormal, for that child. So you can do something about it. But the reason why so many things get through the crack is because we're not observing and we're not intentional about raising our children. It brings me back also, Sheryll, to a conversation you and I had off camera about women staying home. And it is such a delicate topic. But the fact of the matter is that to really effectively raise a child the way they need to be raised, especially in today's society, somebody needs to be home with them, honestly.
Yes, so good. And I agree because, especially with, parenting is a full time job in
It
itself.
is. It is.
So, the traditional way was to allow the husband, the father, to go out and provide for the family while mom would stay home and take care of the kids, take care of the home and nurture the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, society have changed drastically, and I believe one of it is we're all trying to fit in and trying to be like the Joneses, so they speak. So we kept going after this, ideal lifestyle, which is filled with material things. And so in order to get that, the mothers are now going out to work, right? And of course, including the fact that cost of living has quadrupled.
Right, right, right. So that's where I would have interject. I would interject. So let us not forget the fact that for some homes, both parents have to work to make ends meet. But even with that, we have to now become intentional about the children because they still need to be raised. That's all we're saying. So we're not saying if you're a working mom, quit your job, or we don't want anybody to feel guilty. I was a working mom straight up until my children graduated high school. I was a working mom, and it was very hard. It was very hard, and I've watched my children suffer from the consequences of me not being home full time with them. And if I had to do it all over again, I would be a stay at home mom full time, raising my children, knowing what I know now. And so, for the mothers out there who have to be doing it themselves, we want to say kudos to you for getting it done, right? Getting it done. For the persons who don't even know where to start, I would say seek help. All that we're saying, don't think that you need to do this on your own. You can't do it on your own. So seek help. And the good thing, Sheryll, is that we're living in information age. Now we have AI. So if you're not sure how to even start having conversations with your children, ask AI, but start doing something about spending more time with your children. One of the things I do now, and my children are grown, but I still ask the question, how is your heart? And they know what that means. And it gives them an opportunity to open up. And it's amazing. You hear things that you probably would never have heard if I wasn't asking this question.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we are talking about the self worth series. And on today's topic, we are talking and questioning the whole idea that you are not enough, right? We are looking and seeking to silence that self doubt. We're here with our special guest, Mrs. Smith from Dawn Marie Therapy. And that those information that you shared with us, Dawn, is so powerful. But now we want to segment into some action steps.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we want to say that, for the listeners out there, if you've ever, questioned your values, right, tied your worth to performance, or even struggled with that voice in your head that is telling you that you're not enough, then this series is for you. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel and that you will set your notification so that you will not miss the next 3 episodes that we will have in this series. And also make sure that you share the information with a friend so that we can all learn and grow together. But Dawn, I wanna ask you, what are some powerful mindset shifts that you believe that we can use to silence the negative self-talk? What are some, action steps that we can take?
Brilliant. Well, one of the first thing for me is affirmation, is changing how I see myself and speaking it. There is power in the I am. We need to understand that. And, though this is not a gospel channel, I mean, Christ is the head of who I am. And there's a story in the Bible when God called Moses to go to Egypt and to lead the children of Egypt out of bondage. And Moses said to God, I'm not good enough because I stutter, right? Who am I to go before Pharaoh? I stutter. And when I go, who am I going to tell Pharaoh that sent me? At that time, Pharaoh is the greatest, most powerful person, right? And God said to Moses, tell him, I am sent you. And that stayed with me. The story is in the book of Genesis. That stayed with me because it is so powerful that I am. So anything that comes after I am is a command. You're putting it out in the universe. And God has already given you the power to transform your life by the renewing of your mind. And that's simply just changing how you see yourself. So if all of your life you feel you're not good enough, start looking in the mirror and say, baby girl, you are worthy. You are beautiful. You are smart. And let me tell you, you keep doing this, the subconscious mind, whose only role is to put form to what you feed it, is gonna start giving you those things. All right. I know I hear people say, oh, so I'm just gonna say some words and abracadabra, my life is going to change. No, but you are taking steps. All right. Healing hurts, transformation hurts, it takes work. But if you commit to the work, I guarantee you, spending time with yourself, 5 minutes in the morning, just 5 minutes sitting with yourself quietly, being in the moment. In psychology and therapy, we call this mindfulness. You sit, you become aware of your surroundings, you become aware of the chair you're sitting on, you become aware of your heartbeat. Just allow yourself to become aware, because most of the time the self-doubt are lies that we actually believed that other persons have spoken about us. And then we have not taken the time out, Sheryll, to spend time with ourselves to actually see that we are more than enough. In Psalms, it speaks about, I am wonderfully and fearfully made. There's a reason why these things were written in the Bible, right? Because God knows we're human beings and we fail. So if anybody is watching now or you're listening to us, just start with your affirmation. Make them up. Make them up. Stand up. There's a client that told me that she said, Miss Petgrave, every mirror in my house is turned around. And I thought, what? She says, I don't want to see myself. But here's the thing though, Sheryll. She never said she had no mirrors in her home. It means that to me, somewhere inside of her, she wants to see herself. So I'm going to encourage persons, put up more mirrors. And every time you pass a mirror, stop, smile at the person and say, you are amazing. You're going to conquer today. You're going to do great stuff today. The next thing I want to say is be careful of the things that you feed your mind. Be careful of the music, because words do matter. Okay, be careful of the words that comes from your mouth. The Bible said there is life and death in the power of the tongue. So if life and death, I want life. So if you keep saying, oh, I'm so fat, I'm so ugly, I'm so stupid, the subconscious mind doesn't know that that's not good. It's going to find ways and means to give you more of that. So my encouragement, start with spending time with yourself, spending time with God, meditating, doing mindfulness, your affirmations, and just reminding yourself every time a negative self-doubt comes, kick it, say, not today. I am worthy. I am amazing. And eventually, everything about you changes because the mind and the body are inseparable. So whatever the mind believes, and you start speaking these things out, eventually you are going to start deciding differently. The people you connect with are going to be different. The things you do are going to be different. So just like Nike, I would say, just do it.
Wow, that is so powerful there. And it's perfect. However, I do want to point out something that you mentioned about the fact that some of our negative self-talk could be affirmations that we are telling ourselves based on what someone had said to us. And
Mhm.
oftentimes it goes back to the beginning of our conversation here when we talked about our upbringing and how society affect us, influence us. And,
Mhm.
from our parents, as you mentioned, sometimes even other family members, and also teachers. But I believe, parents are the ones that we looked up to the most, and also our teachers. We just respect these people, from childhood. And so when they say something to us, it's like, who
Yeah.
are we not to believe what they said? And so as we go through life, until we come to a place like this, right? As you mentioned, there's information available to us. So until we find YouTube or a perfect books out there, great books out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
or podcast like
Or
this,
mentor, or
mentor,
therapy.
I was about to say, or find professional help,
Oh. Mhm.
we are not aware that we can actually change those thoughts. And so
Yeah.
I thank you for sharing that. Me personally, to share a story and how I silence self-doubt is I do use the mirror as well. And whenever I see myself, I just go back and I'm like, hey, beautiful.
Mhm.
Even if I'm not looking beautiful that day, you know what I mean? We all
Mhm.
know, as women especially, right? If we're, depending
Mhm.
on what we're doing, if we just get out of the gym or if we're doing housework, we may not be looking our best. But at the same time, you remember as you experience self realization and self reflection that you are going internal. So you don't
Right.
necessarily focus on what you're seeing outwardly in the mirror. You just know that you're still beautiful, right? You're still beautiful. You're still at it. You're still going, and so you remind yourself, hey, beautiful, keep going. You're doing great. You're
Mhm.
doing wonderful. Making progress. And, that's, some action step and mindset shifts that Dawn shared with us regarding self talk. And we have one final question. But before I get into the question, Dawn, I just want to also share with our audience that you are an expert in this field. So, should someone be seeking, professional counsel, um, where can they find you? And then I also see your backdrop in the corner there. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about those two things.
Yes. So my website is dawnmarietherapy.com, and I'm sure, Sheryl, you might put that in the link somewhere. So it's dawnmarietherapy.com. You can go on, you can set your own appointment, pay online. We meet online. The sessions are non-judgmental, they're confidential, and they're very professional. So yeah, dawnmarietherapy.com. And the backdrop that you're seeing is my foundation for men, right? It's called Mentel, and our website for that is mentel2024.com. And we're talking about self doubt right now. And of course, we are two females. But let me tell you something. I work in the space of men, and you would be surprised how many of our men doubt themselves and have not been empowered or encouraged to do the same. Like we have so many programs for women, we don't necessarily have the same for men. Of course, things are evolving and I'm grateful for that. But that's what Mentel is all about. We exist on three pillars, and that is mental wellness for men, leadership abilities, and financial literacy. When I work with men, I realize that most of their anxieties come from a lack in those three areas. And so, definitely check us out. And if persons want to reach out, just send me an email, or telephone numbers are also on the websites.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, the final question that we have for you here is it really is piggybacking off that negative self talk and shifting our mindset. But how can someone rebuild their confidence after years of struggling with self worth?
Right. So this is multifaceted, as you can imagine. We first have to start with self-compassion, right? We have to start looking at our strengths, not the weaknesses. Start associating yourself with people who are going to empower you, not people that are going to gaslight you and talk down to you, right? Seeking support, joining groups. There's so many free groups that you can join to be able to gain information. But the one thing I do want to say the most, you don't need to do this alone. So most of the time, depending on how bad the situation is, you really, really may need professional help, because that's what we do. We literally take your hand and walk with you, walk the journey with you, because we do treatment plans. So some of the things that I do in my treatment plan when I'm working with persons, where self doubt is concerned, books. We don't want to read, but let me tell you, I do books, I do worksheets, right? We encourage persons to eat differently, because sometimes the self-doubt is coming from being overweight. Now, we're not saying you're overweight and you're supposed to look into the mirror and say, oh, girl, you look amazing. Yes, you may still look good, but if you're overweight, you need to think about your health first and foremost. So do something about it. Go walking. It's the little steps. It's change the behaviors, change how you eat, because that's going to give you longevity in life. And I'm telling you, I just celebrated my 50th birthday. And every time I mention, yes, every time I mention that, somebody go, how? No, don't tell anybody that. But you know what? It's the little things. It's learning to love myself. It's giving myself permission to forgive myself for all the messes that I've created in my life. It's forgiving the people that have done me wrong, right? It's letting go of resentment and hate and not harboring those things, because they're only going to create disease in your bodies. And so self-doubt starts with those little things. Number one is making up your mind that I'm going to change this. So first things, I'm going to change this. And then where exactly is the self-doubt? What's causing it? Is it your weight? Is it your finances? Is it, we always know where the bulk of it is. Face it, write down, this is what is happening and this is what I need to do. So I say this and I'll wrap up. There's an activity that I usually give my clients, and it's write down 10 lies you tell yourself. And then on the other side of those lies, I want you to put the truth to them. And let me tell you, you would see how quickly it is for persons to just write all the, and when it comes to the truth, it is so hard for them to look in the mirror and say, I am worthy. I'm smart enough, right? I'm smart enough. I I can do this, because of the lies that we've tell ourselves. So those are some of the things. And again, when the negative thoughts come, remember that of all the animals that God created, we are the only ones, human beings are the only ones who have the innate ability to shift the thought that you're thinking. You have the ability to shift from that negative mindset and think of something positive. Another thing that I will do with clients is help them to create a happy place in their mind, a place where you're your happiest. It's peaceful, you're at your happiest. So every time self doubt comes, now my happy place is shopping in Paris. So every time some form of self doubt or something comes, you best know I'm going to take 10 minutes and my eyes are closed. I'm probably playing some Tibetan flute in my ears, and I'm in Paris shopping, and I'm in all these boutique, all of them, and I'm shopping and I'm having an amazing time. Guess what that does? That shift the mindset. Once it shifts the mindset, it shifts different kinds of chemicals. So your body started reacting differently.
Wow, that is powerful. So, of all those shopping in Paris, do you ever see me there with you? I'd love to come.
That's a thought. I'll add you, but because it's my happy place, there's usually nobody else involved.
Yeah.
But don't worry. Shopping in Paris and Paris Fashion Week is coming up very soon.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your expertise, sharing your stories and really sharing with us the action steps that we can take. And I do love that happy place. So I think we're going to stay there a little bit more. You mentioned something really key, and I know I was joking, but you're right. So first and foremost, that happy place is for you. You
Mhm.
know, it's my happy place. Some people call it my bubble. You know, stay in my bubble, and it would be something that means a lot to you and have no price tag to it. So you want to
Mhm.
make sure you have to say to yourself, if money was not an issue, what would I do? And as you mentioned, shopping in Paris. For some people, it's walking by the lake, feeling the sand under their feet at the beach. So I totally agree with Dawn. You know, one of the things that we'd actually challenge you to do this week before you join us for the next episode is to, if you haven't been doing it, to create your own happy
This
place.
place.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Do
I
you love
really
that
love that.
challenge?
Yes, yes, I love that. But Sheryl, before we end our episode, I do want to give some statistics so persons understand just how prevalent self-doubt is. 85% of people struggling with low self-esteem, according to Dr. Joe Robina, a leading self esteem expert, the majority of people experiencing self worth challenges at some point in their lives. Women's self esteem drops by 30% between the ages of 11 to 14. And research from the Dove Self Esteem Project, which is a great project, by the way, for young women. So 30% of young girls between the ages of 11 to 14, their self-esteem drop, and most of the time they're going through puberty. They start getting acne, they don't understand their body weight, and they just right. And it's so critical that we're involved in their lives. Only 4% of women worldwide consider themselves beautiful. Now, to my knowledge, the world has about what, 9 billion people or
Seven.
something.
7 billion.
Okay, 7 billion people, and of the women, only 4% worldwide consider themselves beautiful. Men are less likely to talk about self-worth struggles, right? Though they experience them. And self worth is directly linked to mental health, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. So, people with low self esteem or self worth are at a higher risk for anxiety and depression. So, let us bear those things in mind and let us become each other's keeper. So instead of tearing somebody down when you don't really know what they're going through, probably try and give them a compliment. For me, I'm a happy person. I come with my own happiness. And because I know how prevalent depression and anxiety is, I am so intentional. I go into a workplace, I'm saying hello. I pull up at the toll station, I'm saying, hi, how is your day today? Making like a fun. And these are things that we can do as an individual to also help others.
Yes, that's awesome. And that's also another challenge. You're really dropping some amazing nuggets, and we appreciate you because I also believe that in as we go through our own struggles and we're seeking to become more worthy, right? We're seeking
Mhm.
to understand that we too are worthy just like the next person. We don't have to wait until our life becomes perfect before we actually lend a hand, as you just mentioned. And so, yes, even while you're still going through your struggles, you may not have any money in your account, or your car may be almost out of gas, but as you pull up to the toll, can you still say hello? You
Yeah.
know, can you still smile with someone else as you walk into the lobby? You know, as someone, can you open the door for someone? You know,
Yeah.
if something fell, can you, if you're able to pick it up for them, right? So can we give, in other words, before we actually receive? And so I think that's really powerful. So on here, I did have a self-worth tip to leave with our audience today, which is confidence isn't about never having self doubt, right?
Mhm.
Confidence is about not letting self doubt have the final say. What do you make of that?
And it's beautiful. So things are going to come up that may cause you to doubt yourself, but you don't have to live there. It's a journey, it's a destination. You don't need to put a full stop there and allow these self-doubt to dictate how your life, or how your day even go. And so this is really, really powerful. Confidence isn't about never having self-doubt. It's about not letting self-doubt pretty much take control of your life. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Awesome. Awesome. So we are at the end of this episode. Miss Dawn, what is your final, word that you want to leave with us? Anything you want to just summarize or leave with us before we
Well,
go?
Well, because I want everybody to join us next week for our next episode, I'm just going to share a real quick story. So, when my children were younger, I would leave the bathroom door open. So, when I'm in the bathroom, so just in case something happened to them, I could run out. But then I realized I'm in the bathroom and the kids would just come and go and come and go. And when they started turning teenagers, I couldn't go near their bathrooms, I couldn't go inside the bathrooms, right? But they would always want to come in my bathroom. So I remember this one particular day, I started locking the door because I'm like, I need some me time. So when I lock the door, my son is banging down, Mom, why is the bathroom door locked? Wait a minute, it's my time. So that was an eye opener for me. What is that story? I had to learn to start setting some boundaries and be okay with saying no. That was my time, my 15 minutes in the bathroom, and I was going to take it. And guess what? Eventually, they left me alone and they start using their own bathroom because they always want something in my bathroom. And so next week, we are excited because we're going to be talking about, what do you think? We'll see you
Setting
next week.
boundaries. Well, that's awesome. We thank you so much for being with us. We love having you. And I personally is excited to share the rest of the month with you on this series that is talking about self-worth. So we just want to invite our audience to share this information first and foremost. And if you have questions, which I'm sure that you do, right? We want Dawn to answer your
Yeah.
biggest questions. We want to make sure that we cover what you want to hear. So hopefully this episode did it for you. But if not, DM us your questions so that we can give you a shout out in the next episode. And until then, we want to just say goodbye for now and we will catch you in the next episode.
All right. Bye, guys. See you
Bye,
soon.
guys. All right, guys. So that wraps up this episode on the self worth series. And wasn't that amazing? That was amazing. I hope you got the opportunity to take notes like I did. Our guest gave us a challenge, right? She gave us many challenges, but one of the challenge that I want to remind you of is that we should create a happy place. She shared an example that her happy place was going shopping in Paris. I did ask her if I could join her, but she said no. So the challenge is create your happy place. It could be anything, something that you would love to do, something that you would just enjoy doing, right? Think of it as something that, money is not an issue, your health is not an issue, time is not an issue. Everything is free, and you have this opportunity to go within and create your happy place. I can't wait to hear what it is. She also reminded us that we have the ability to change our mindset. Isn't that powerful? Of all the species that God created, she reminded us that humans are the only one that have the ability to change our mindset. Therefore, change your mindset. All right, guys. Well, if this episode resonates with you, please share it with a friend and make sure that you're following us, right, on the podcast. And of course, also reach out to us on social media at Project Purpose Podcast. You can also follow our guest on social media at Dawn Marie Therapy. We also reminded you that we would love to hear from you. We want to make sure that Dawn answer your biggest question. So DM us what your questions are so that we can have her answer those for you in the next series to come. Make sure that you tune in to the next episode, right? Because we'll be talking about setting boundaries and owning your worth. So until then, bye for now.